Hi, this is Carrie Shell from On Point Quilter. My quilt show is a day away, and I am now focused on labels for all of my quilts. In this electric quilt video tutorial, I'll share with you how I started with the actual quilt design in EQ and used it as a starting point for a matching label. Okay, I'm going to get started by going to one of my files that has a completed quilt in it. And this quilt is Snow Days, which was the quilt that was featured in Fawns and Porter. And you can sort of look at it. I basically went to my sketchbook, found the latest draft of the quilt, and then did edit. And this actually also showed my quilting designs on it, so I'm going to hide that. And I just did a restore, so I'm going to have to sort of start over, but I'm going to go to more quilt work table options. I'm going to go to view settings, and I'm going to check on the icon that says, or layer icons, provide icons to show and hide the quilt layers. So I can click on that, select OK, and now I can just click on the light bulb, and layer 3, which has the quilting design, is off. Now, when I look at this quilt, I have to decide where I want to add the label information. And when I look at this, I can sort of see the blocks in the center. And I am going to actually create a block to sort of cover that, and then I'm going to put my label information there. I can't just write it on top because it's a pretty busy quilt and there's a lot going on. So I'm going to start by going to layer 2, and I'm going to use a set block. Now, if you don't have a plain block, and I'm going to assume I don't, I can click on the right gray drop-down box in the corner, and I'm going to add a plain block, and they're going to put that at the end of the palette. So from layer 2, I can drag that new box onto my quilt. And I am going to resize it. So I'm going to use the adjust tool. I'm going to select the block, and I'm not sure the size of my center there, but I'm going to try 12 by 12, and I'm going to rotate that 45 degrees. And actually, I think that was correct. So let me just zoom in so you can see a little bit closer what I'm doing here. So I'm basically trying to cover that center. Now it's off a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and center that horizontally. And if I need to do anything vertically, I'm just going to use the arrow keys on my keyboard for that. So now that I've got the block placed, I'm going to first of all color it, and I'm going to use one of the fabrics in my quilt. So I'm going to go to layer 1, and I'm going to use the eyedropper tool and select that dark navy blue, and I'm going to go to layer 2, and I'm just going to color that. And then I'm going to add text. Now, if you look at my toolbar on the right, I do not have the text toolbar. So I'm going to select Customize Toolbar, Add Remove Buttons, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Set Applique Text. And so now I can use that text, and I can select a typeface for this. And I think I used Comic Sans, and it says what's the approximate size in inches. So I'm going to keep that at 3 just for the moment, just because I'm not sure what I need for that. And I am going to go ahead and use the Shift key, and I'm going to drag a box. Now what happens is when I release, it basically moves to the size basically of one character. So I'm going to type Snow Days, And unfortunately, it did not show up. And it's like, well, what happened to it? Well, it basically colored it in the same fabric as that dark blue. So I am going to select my paintbrush, and I'm going to select either another fabric or color. And I'm going to pick something really light, and I'm going to color it with that. So that's looking a lot better, but if I still want to make changes, I can go into my text and maybe I would want to center it. I could also try bolding if I, which I like. It actually, I think, looks nice with that. And so now what I'm going to do is basically create the something for my name for the bottom block. So I'm going to use the adjust tool. I'm going to select that first block that I completed, and I'm going to do copy and paste. And I like to do the Control C and the Control V. Now it didn't save the color because I didn't add to Sketchbook. If I had added to Sketchbook, it would have saved that. But I'm going to move that in position, and I'm going to center that horizontally, and I like that. And so I'm going to go ahead and use my paintbrush and color this, and then I'm going to use my text tool, and I'm going to create another box with the Shift key down. And I'm just going to say by Carrie Shell, and I'll put 2016, which is when I made that quilt. So I'm going to center that. Oh, I'm going to use the paintbrush in the light color and color it. And I can see that it's a little bit too big, right? So I could go change the font size, or I can just use the resize. And again, I'm in the adjust, and I can just bring that down to a size that's a little bit better for the space. And I can complete that, and I can center that as well. And so once I've got that done, let me just zoom to a fit to work table. I can go ahead and I can add this to the sketchbook. Now, what I would like to do is also create basically a photo of this. And so I'm going to, I want to do an export image, and I need to find the button for that. So I'm going to use my customize toolbar again, this time on the top, add remove buttons, and I'm going to select, I usually always like to have export marquee selection and export image, and the cut, copy, and paste. So I'm going to go ahead and turn all of those on. So now what I'm going to do is select export image, and I'm going to save this in a file that I've called Quilt Labels. I'm going to save it as a JPEG because I guess I like JPEGs, and I'm going to call this Snow Days. And since I have one, I'm going to label this 2 so I don't overwrite my other work, and I'm going to select Save. Now, EQ asks me for the size, and I am actually fine with that. I'm going to probably change it, but I'm going to change that later. I'm going to make the resolution 600. I want this really nice resolution. I'm going to turn off, though, outline patches and outline blocks because I want this to look a little closer to the real quilt, and I really don't want to see those lines. I also am going to change the JPEG quality to 100, and 100 is the largest number that EQ will allow here. So again, I want to just improve the quality. So I'm going to select OK. I'm now ready to print my quilt labels. But I'm going to save that for the next tutorial because I want to show you how to use the photo layout option within Electric Quilt. So thanks so much for watching, and if you have any questions, please send me a note. And if you like these tutorials, subscribe to my weekly newsletter at www.onpointquilter.com.